You and I have a lot in common. Maybe you're sick, real sick, with heart disease or cancer, as I was, or some other disease. Maybe you're close to death, or maybe you're just feeling lousy, tired, fatigued. You know something's wrong, but you don't know what it is. On the other hand, maybe you're just smart, smarter than I was for most of my life. You just want to learn how to keep from getting sick. Well, good for you. Whatever your interest, come on in and let's sit down and talk for a while, and I'll share with you how I got well from cancer, which had me at one time close to death. So come on in. I've got great news for you. Americans are some of the sickest people in the whole world, but it hasn't always been that way. Years ago, a survey was done of about 125 nations, and the United States came in about 18th in health. But more recently, in a survey of 79 countries, the United States came in 79th. Heart attack is the leading cause of death in the world now, but it wasn't even diagnosed in the year 1900. When someone would die and they would do an autopsy, they didn't find arteriosclerosis. It was not even found until about 1912. But by 1951, heart attack killed at least half of all the men in this country who died over the age of 40. An American dies of cardiovascular disease every 34 seconds. That means a heart attack, a stroke, something related to high blood pressure is cardiovascular disease. By the time you finish watching the 11 o'clock news tonight, 2,488 people in this country will have died from cardiovascular disease today. Cancer deaths are increasing. By the year 2000, it is estimated that 1 out of every 2 will die of cancer. And children are dying of leukemia. In fact, when children die from accidents, they have found arteriosclerosis, or cardiovascular disease, in children as young as 6 or 7. Chronic fatigue syndrome is increasing, arthritis, all sorts of diseases. Everybody's sick. And why is this? Well, we as a nation are becoming sedentary. We're becoming couch potatoes. We stay indoors all the time. We work indoors, we go to school indoors. Our windows don't even open in many of the buildings that we work in. And we stay out of the sun because doctors have told us the sun is not good for you, you'll get skin cancer. And of course, we eat junk food. More than half of all the food eaten by Americans in the United States today is junk food. It's high in sugar, fat, and salt, and it has almost no nutrition. We call that empty calories. Every man, woman, and child in America eats approximately 700 pounds of junk food each year. That doesn't even include alcohol, white flour products, jams, jellies, or meat. 80% of all food items that you find now in supermarkets were not even in existence 20 years ago. And in the last 10 years, they have added 9,700 new items to grocery store shelves. And most of those, of course, are processed foods. For each dollar you spend on a processed food, only 10 cents of that actually goes for the food itself. The rest goes for advertising and packaging and additives, chemicals that are added to the food, and of course, markup for profit. So if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, let's discuss it. I'll give you my credentials. I'm an MD. I obtained my medical degree from the University of California, San Francisco. I took my internship there, and I spent 4 years in residency as an orthopedic surgery resident. I continued on the faculty of the University of California, San Francisco as associate professor and vice chairman of the department. I was there for 15 years, teaching other doctors, training them each day on how to become a healer. I thought. I was also chief of orthopedic surgery at San Francisco General Hospital. San Francisco General Hospital is a trauma hospital. For 20 years there, I took care of everybody who'd been shot and stabbed and been run over by a car or jumped out of a window or was thrown out of a window. That's how I lived my life. It's interesting and exciting, of course. This is a great way to spend your life. However, I never learned anything about healing, true healing. Doctors learned very little about nutrition or true healing when they're in medical school. My real education began when I found out I had cancer. Now, the information I'm going to give you does not just apply to cancer. It applies to virtually every chronic disease. And when I say chronic disease, I'm talking about heart disease, I'm talking about autoimmune diseases such as rheumatoid arthritis. So this particular program, which is an all-inclusive program, applies to virtually all chronic diseases. A person cannot get sick unless their immune system is not functioning properly. If the immune system breaks down from stress of any kind, whether it's domestic stress, stress on the job, overwork, whatever is going on in your life that's causing stress, maybe improper diet, lack of exercise, then the immune system, which is there to keep you well, if it stops functioning, it can no longer keep you well. When you're not feeling well, you go to your physician. Your physician makes a diagnosis, and what does he or she do? Generally, they give you drugs. Drugs never cure chronic diseases. They only cover up the symptoms while the disease continues to get worse. The only way to get well is to rebuild your immune system so your immune system can then get you well and keep you well. In my previous video, Cancer Doesn't Scare Me Anymore, I discussed the politics and business of medicine and why doctors are never taught how to really get people well. Now I'll tell you exactly how I got well. I had breast cancer. I had invasive breast cancer. I had the lump removed, but the cancer had invaded my muscle of my chest wall and eventually went to the lymph nodes under my arm and above my clavicle. They couldn't get all the cancer when they took the lump out, but I told them I would not agree to a mastectomy. I would not agree to radiation or chemotherapy because these are destructive agents. They destroy what's left of your immune system. And you see, my immune system already wasn't working properly. That's why I got cancer. So I knew that there must be therapies that could get me well that wouldn't destroy my body. When the surgeon removed the lump, and he said, I can't get it all, I actually went again for another procedure where they tried to get it all, but they still could not get it all. So cancer was left in my body. But by that time, I knew that I could still get well. I became very, very sick for a time. In fact, there was one time that I didn't know, and neither did my husband know, whether I would make it through the night. In fact, for weeks, I could barely walk from the bed to the bathroom. So I was very sick. So don't lose heart if you're very sick too. But as I changed my lifestyle, I started getting my strength back. My immune system started assisting me in getting well. And do you know what happened? The lymph nodes under my arm, and one was actually as large as a walnut, the lymph nodes under my arm and above my clavicle just started to disappear. They melted away. That's what the immune system does when it's working properly. It keeps the body free from disease. So how does one rebuild the immune system? The body is a very complex organism, but the maintenance of it is very simple. There are 10 basic rules for health. I like to call them the 10 Commandments of health. It doesn't matter what disease you have. It is a result of the breakdown of your immune system. We are taught in medicine that there is a specific drug or treatment for every different disease. And so doctors will tell you that it's ridiculous or outrageous to suggest that one treatment can cure a variety of different kinds of diseases. Yet every physician has to admit that it is the immune system that keeps a person well. It's also the immune system that helps you overcome disease. So doesn't it make sense that if you rebuild your immune system, then it can do its job of getting you well and keeping you well? When I first started out trying to get well, I tried a lot of alternative therapies. And these are therapies that have made other people well, but they certainly didn't work for me. I started on a juice fast, which has been successful in other people. But I'll tell you, I almost died. I was so toxic that when the toxins started coming out of my body, I got so sick that I couldn't eat or drink. And I didn't know if I would survive it. Again, I say there are other people who've gotten well this way, but it didn't work for me. I tried a macrobiotic diet with all these sea vegetables, but I almost had to hold my nose to eat them. They smelled so bad when I was cooking them, and I had to discard that. I have also tried at the very beginning loads and loads of supplements. I thought, well, if I'm low in this, I'll take this. And I was so full of pills from the supplements that I'm not sure that I could even digest them all. But finally, I turned to the basic diet. The diet that is listed in this book, the Bible. It's the Garden of Eden diet. The way we were created to eat. We're created to eat fruits and vegetables, grains, nuts, and seeds. The way our bodies were meant to be nourished, because you can't improve on God. So let's get started. Here's the plan that I used. It's very inexpensive, and when compared to conventional methods, it's really cheap. And you can do it at home, as I did. Commandment number 1 is nutrition. Let's suppose that you or I could afford a Rolls Royce or a Mercedes, and you went to the dealer and you bought it. And the dealer said to you, I guarantee you that if you use the fuel for this new car that I provide for you, that the car will last for 100 years and it will never, never need a repair. Not only that, the gasoline that I provide for you is cheaper than any you can buy at a regular gas station. Would you use that gasoline in your car? Sure you would, and so would I. But that's the guarantee that God has given us for our bodies. I eat designer food. I eat the food that's designed by the same creator that created my body. The food you get off the tree or out of the garden in its most natural state is food designed exactly to nourish your body. It has everything you need in exactly the right ratio. Well, does that include meat? I don't think so. Meat was not provided in the Garden of Eden. In fact, nothing died and nothing was killed. It only allows you to eat the natural things and as close to nature as possible. I suggest you look in the mirror now and open your mouth real wide. You will see that the molars in the back of your mouth are grinding molars. They're not sharp teeth in the back of your mouth like a cat has, or a lion, or a tiger, or a cougar. Those are animals that are meant to eat meat. If you tried to put your teeth into the hide of a cow, you couldn't rip out a piece of flesh because your teeth are not meant to chew on flesh. Not only that, we have an intestine that is long and windy, about 30 feet of intestine. That's the intestine that a horse or a cow or an antelope or a deer has. They're meant to eat grasses and grains and things like that. Cats have a very short intestine. It's short and it's straight, so that meat can get out of the intestine very rapidly, because otherwise it putrefies in the intestine. Also, We as human beings don't have the right enzymes to properly digest meat. Cats have those enzymes, but we don't. So why do we eat meat? First, we're sort of programmed to do it, and we get to the point where we really like it. But our bodies were not made to eat meat. Let me suggest that you do an experiment. Take a pound of hamburger or a steak and put it out on your kitchen counter for 3 days. Turn the heat in your house up to about 100 degrees and see how that meat smells at the end of that time. Ooh, well, that's what happens in your body. It takes about 3 days for that meat to get through this long intestine, and your body temperature is 98.6, close to 100. So the meat putrefies, and you take in all of those toxins into your bloodstream, and the bloodstream distributes them all over your body. You see, that's one of the main reasons that people get sick. So again, why does everybody eat meat? Because they decide they like to, but it was not provided for us at the beginning. Meat is 40% fat. Even if you trim all the fat around the edges, the fat is actually in the muscle fiber. Poultry, even if you remove the skin, is still 40% fat. So you're just kidding yourself if you say, well, I eat chicken and turkey, and those are low in fat. No, they're not. Fish is also high in fat. And none of these things have any fiber in them, the fiber that you need from eating grains. And of course, they're very high in protein, much more protein than you need. Plus, meat, the animal, concentrates pesticides that are given to the animal in the grains that they eat. Not only that, all of the meat and the poultry and the fish are full of chemicals. In meat and poultry, they give these animals hormones, they give them pesticides in their food, they give them antibiotics, and when you eat the meat, you're taking all of that into your body. Not only that, all of this meat is diseased. Beef has a problem with mad cow disease, at least in England. This is a terrible disease. The cows develop holes in their brain. The disease is actually called bovine for cow, spongiform encephalopathy. Encephalopathy just means that it's a disease of the brain. Spongiform means that they get great holes in their brain and they get demented before they actually die. And this is a disease that is 100% fatal. They're going to kill millions of head of cattle in Britain to try to stop this disease. A number of people have already gotten mad cow disease in England, and some have already died from it. Now, the incubation period from the time you're exposed or you eat the meat until you actually get sick can be as long as 5 to 15 years. So they expect an enormous epidemic of mad cow disease that's been transmitted to humans in England. When it's transmitted to humans, it's called Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. Now, that's a long name, and you don't have to remember it, but it is 100% fatal. Now, we've been assured by the experts in America that this will not happen in America, but I can tell you, we import meat from many other countries to this country, and much of the meat that comes in from other countries is not inspected. Cows also have bovine leukemia virus. They also have bovine immunodeficiency virus, which is cow AIDS. Now you say, well, I quit eating red meat quite a while ago. I just eat chicken. Chicken, if anything, is more diseased than beef and other kinds of meat. Chicken and turkey all contain salmonella bacteria. 4 million people get salmonella poisoning on this continent every year, and much of it is from chicken, or also it's in milk and it's in eggs. The egg of a chicken, by the way, is made to power a baby chick for 21 days when it has no other food. It's full of fat. Cow's milk is also made to turn a 65-pound calf into a 400-pound cow. It's got a lot of fat in it, too. We don't need that. Fish and seafood also, of course, is very polluted because all of our streams and oceans are polluted. The average American in their lifetime consumes, get this, 21 cows, 14 sheep, 12 pigs, 900 chickens, and 1,000 pounds of other animals. 607 pounds of animal products each year the average American consumes. Americans ate 20 years ago 1 billion pounds of pure chemicals in their additives and things that were added to the meat and to other processed food. That figure has increased greatly in the last 20 years. So meat is difficult to digest. It causes an increase in your blood pressure. It contains poisonous wastes. When the animal died, it had this hormonal surge because it was terrified as it was being slaughtered. So you eat that in the meat. It's very excitatory. Meat lacks fiber and it is high in fats, including saturated fats. You also need to know that cows are fed something called offal, O-F-F-A-L. Those are the products of other animals that are killed, the things that aren't sent to market, like the intestines and things like that. So you're getting the damaged and waste products of other animals in the cow when you eat it. By the way, that's how they determined that the cows in England got mad cow disease. It was a disease of sheep, but they were feeding the intestines of the sheep to the cows, and so this disease was transmitted to the cows. Within the last 100 years, meat eating has increased 400% in this country. Fat, as I said before, is in the fiber of every muscle in the meat, so you can't just cut it off the edges. But every 30 seconds or so, someone dies of a heart attack in America, and much of that is from eating a diet high in meat and animal fats. Animal fats are different from plant oils. Plant oils are liquid at your body temperature. But animal fats are solid at body temperature. So when you eat animal fat at your body temperature, it is solid and it cakes all over the walls, not only of your blood vessels, causing arteriosclerosis, but it also attaches itself to your intestine. And so your intestines don't become as mobile and as easily affected by the peristalsis to move the waste out of your body. Our fat requirement is only about 50 grams a day, but Americans eat about 3 times that every day. The body has no requirement for animal products, and yet we as Americans stuff ourselves full of animal products every day. Protein. Meat is too high in protein. You only need about 30 grams of protein in your diet every day. But the average American eats 125 grams of protein. Protein cannot be stored. The liver must break it down, and the liver gets worn out breaking down so much of this protein. Animal protein is very acid. In fact, cats have 20 times the amount of hydrochloric acid in their stomach as humans do to break down this very acid protein of the animals. But the meat breakdown products are carcinogenic. They actually cause cancer, particularly in your colon, and then this also spreads to other places in your body. Fat causes coronary artery disease. Do you know that in America, 1,000 teenagers die every year from strokes? Meat and dairy products have lots of sodium in them, too. High sodium is in the muscle tissue of the animals and in milk. This also contributes to high blood pressure. So a balanced diet is a little bit of protein, a little bit of fat, water, vitamins, minerals, and energy, which is carbohydrate. Also, you need some fiber, and of course, one of the main nutrients for your body is oxygen, which you breathe in. Now, there are many sources of protein in the vegetable kingdom. Grains contain 10% protein, and these are complete proteins. Legumes like beans and lentils contain 25% protein, and green vegetables and nuts also contain 15% of protein. That includes sprouts, which are very good for you. So you don't have to worry about getting your complement of protein. I should also suggest to you that we have a new idea coming from our government and from our scientists. This was an article that was in USA Today in February of this year, 1997. Do you hate veggies? Maybe your genes are to blame. Now everything is genetic, of course. If you're overweight, it's genetic. If you don't like vegetables, it's genetic. If you have anger, it must be genetic. These things are not genetic. They're learned behavior. We have them from our environmental conditions, which means our home life, or because our parents taught us this, or we learned it from our peers. Also, you can get lots of calcium from leafy green vegetables. You don't need to drink milk. In fact, human beings are the only animals, species, that drinks milk after they're a child. And no other animal drinks the milk of another animal. Did you know that approximately 50% of the population of the world is allergic to milk? They don't have the proper enzymes to digest milk. Hundreds of years ago, a cow would give 200 pounds of milk per year. Today, a cow gives more than 15,000 pounds of milk per year. The modern methods of milk production, factory farming, involves giving them hormones and antibiotics so they'll have this great output of milk. Also, the U.S. Health Department has established the acceptable bacteria limit for milk. Do you realize that they allow 100,000 bacteria per teaspoon of milk? That's even when it's purified and pasteurized. So again, you don't need to eat these animal products. I would also suggest to you that if you like ice cream, listen to a rundown on the chemicals that are in ice cream. One that's in ice cream is used to treat lice. Another one is used to make antifreeze. Another one, butyraldehyde, is used in making rubber cement. And the list goes on and on. Eggs are just as damaging. They're high in fat. They are frequently contaminated with salmonella. So you don't need all of these things. Why don't doctors know about this? Because the average doctor in 4 years of medical school does not get more than 1 hour of training in nutrition in their entire education. So that is, of course, why you don't hear about it. Here's the kind of thing that you need to eat. Fruits. That was the first food given in the Garden of Eden. Fruits are naturally delicious. They're high in sugar, but the right kind of sugar. You don't want to eat processed sugar. So you want to eat a lot of fruit. You want to eat vegetables in their most natural state. The more often you can eat them raw, the better. Try to eat 65 or 75% of your food raw. That way it has all the natural enzymes in it to help you process that food in your body. Otherwise, your body has to make all those enzymes on its own. You can have grains. You can have a few nuts, but nuts are high in fat and they're high in protein, and so you want to take it easy on the nuts. And of course, there are seeds such as sunflower seeds and sesame seeds, so you can have a few of those too. Let me give you a sample breakfast of what I eat. Oatmeal. It's an excellent grain. You see, you've got oatmeal. You can have some fruit with it. You can have some raw fruit. By the way, be careful not to eat fruits and vegetables at the same meal because the fruit has a lot of sugar in it. And if you're eating vegetables that take a long time to process with all of the fiber, the good fiber that's in vegetables, you will not be able to get that food out of your stomach and into your intestine for a long period of time. And the sugar in the fruit will ferment, and it will cause you a lot of digestive disturbance and gas. So don't eat fruits and vegetables in the same meal. So oatmeal and fruit, something like that is a very good breakfast. Or fruit and whole wheat bread or whole wheat toast is excellent for breakfast. For lunch, you can either have fruit, different kinds of fruit, or you can have a great big salad with many different vegetables in it. For dinner, you can have a dinner around a baked potato or a yam, or I can show you how to make special kinds of French fries which don't have any oil in them. You can have rice or some other grain. And this is the main basis for your meal. Then you can have vegetables, preferably fresh, or a large salad to go along with that. And I can tell you, when you're not eating empty calories of all this processed food, this will satisfy you. Be sure that you go very easy on the spices that you add. You don't want to have sharp spices like peppers and horseradish and nutmeg and things like that that are very excitatory to not only the taste buds but to all the other cells of the body. You want to stick to things like bay leaves and marjoram and thyme and things like that. Now I'm going to give you some general rules about eating. Number one, I told you, don't eat fruits and vegetables at the same meal. Chew your food until it's liquid in your mouth. There are certain enzymes that are in the saliva that are not reproduced in your stomach. And if you don't chew your food until it's liquid in your mouth, it will go into your stomach and it will never become fully digested. When it goes into your intestine, even though it's in microscopic molecules or particles, when it gets assimilated through the intestinal wall into your bloodstream, the blood will not recognize it as what it should be, and it can make antibodies against it, and that's one way you get allergies. Now, how about drinking? I'll go into water in a little bit, but don't drink with your meals. Because when you drink with your meals, then you dilute the digestive juices in your stomach, so your food doesn't digest as well. You want to drink not sooner than a half an hour before you eat, and no sooner than an hour after you eat. You want to have your stomach empty before you eat, and you want to have enough time for digestion to begin taking place very well before you start putting liquid in your mouth. I use barley green. Barley green is a powder which I drink in my juices, and I drink a lot of carrot juice, which is excellent for you. I drink at least 6 glasses of carrot juice a day. When I began on my plan, or for anyone who has cancer, I would suggest drinking 8 glasses of carrot juice a day, and it's best if you can make it fresh. If not, then you can make it, you can purchase it from a store as long as it's freshly made in the store. But the fresher you make it, the better off you'll be. The barley green is the powder of the green young leaf of the barley plant. It's one of the most nutritious foods you can buy. So I would suggest that you use some of that, a heaping tablespoon, in at least 4 glasses of carrot juice. Now, another way to get your greens is, besides eating them, of course, is to make green leafy vegetable juice. And you can make that in your juicer from chard and green pepper and romaine lettuce and other dark leafy greens that you can put into your juicer. So you want to drink at least 4 glasses of green leafy vegetable juice a day, or add a heaping tablespoon of barley green to at least 4 of your carrot juices. And you want to drink 8 carrot juices a day. On top of that, I drink a lot of water. And this all has to be done in between meals. On your baked potato, you can have some flaxseed oil. Flaxseed oil you can obtain in your health food store. It is an oil that is not heated. It is processed by pressing. And so it is very nutritious in omega-3 and omega-6 oils. So you want to make sure that you don't fry anything, you only bake or cook on the stove, or you eat raw. I make sure that I don't eat more than about 30 grams of protein a day. You don't need nearly as much protein as you're told. I try not to eat more than about 2 slices of bread a day, and of course that is whole wheat bread from the health food store or bread that you can make yourself. You don't ever want to eat white bread, and you don't even want to eat whole wheat bread that is enriched from the grocery store because it is worthless. They've taken almost all of the nutrition out of it. Now, I'm going to discuss a little bit about your intestines. Cancer begins in the colon, including breast cancer or stomach cancer or brain cancer. And the reason it begins in the colon, even though you may not have colon cancer, is because you are taking up all of these toxins. You're not drinking enough water. The toxins come from meat and the processing of the food that your body does. And your food that is being assimilated and turned into waste products doesn't get out of your body fast enough because the peristalsis is not working properly in your intestine because you're not eating enough fiber in your fruits, grains, and vegetables, and you're not drinking enough water. So everything slows down. It takes a long time to get through your intestine. If you're constipated, you are in trouble. You need to drink a lot more water. You need to eat a lot more fiber in your diet. If you're not having regular bowel movements, which mean a minimum of 2 a day, and better yet, we're designed to eliminate our waste products as many times as we eat food a day. If you eat 3 meals a day, you ought to be eliminating 3 times a day. You ought to be having 3 bowel movements a day. It is not enough to just have 1 because then everything stays around in your intestines too long and you reabsorb those toxins. If you can't have a bowel movement every day, then you better do some enemas until you can get yourself cleaned out and get on a regular program because you are eating right later on and then your bowel will work properly. Colonics, which are enemas that just put the water up higher into your intestine, are sometimes very useful at the beginning of your program. So you can either go to a place that does colonics for a time, or you can do colonics at home, although you'll have to buy some special kind of equipment. You can find out more information on colonics in any health food store. They will have books on it. But it is very important that you make sure that your colon is working properly. If it is not working properly, you will still have a problem with toxicity. Another rule is don't eat in between meals. Once you start eating in between meals, your body will continue digesting. It will start digesting in between meals, and then your intestines will never have a chance to rest. Also, don't eat late at night. If you eat late at night, then your body has to work all night long to try to digest the food, and that takes a lot of energy. Your body gets rejuvenated at night as you sleep. And if you constantly are eating, and if you eat late at night before you go to bed, then your body cannot regain its youthfulness, it cannot regenerate, it cannot rejuvenate. Now just a little word on chemicals. Chemicals, of course, in your food are bad. That's why you don't eat processed food. But make sure that you don't have a lot of other chemicals in your environment. They're under your kitchen sink, they're in your bathroom, they're in insect sprays, they're in the pesticides you use. They're also in toothpaste. Don't get toothpaste with fluoride in it. And of course, there's chlorine in your water. That's why you want to drink bottled water. Also, you never want to microwave your food. It changes the character of the food. And of course, be careful when you have dental work done, because if you have amalgams put in your mouth, they have mercury in them. Mercury in your hand is toxic, but we're told by the dentist that when you put it in your mouth, it's not toxic anymore. So I would suggest to you that you really want to get the chemicals out of your house. Take those chemicals out from under the sink and put them in the garage so you're not inhaling those fumes all the time. Now, I want to say one last word about juicing. Again, you need to have your juice as fresh as possible. You will find that carrot juice contains a lot of beta-carotene in it, and beta-carotene is an antioxidant. it will go around through your body and clean a lot of the toxins out of your body. That's also helpful with the barley green or the green leafy vegetable juice. So there you have your whole plan. Fruits, vegetables, grains, a few nuts. Almonds are the best. And then you can also have a few seeds, but be careful with the protein. If you eat like that, your body will start turning itself around. It will start cleansing itself. I want to tell you that it worked for me with my cancer. And I want to tell you about somebody else that it worked for who had high blood pressure and an autoimmune disease. Let's go and talk to her.
Right.
Now, how old are you?
85.
Okay. She changed her whole diet when she was 85 years old. If she can do it, you can do it too. Now, you developed a severe disease, didn't you? What's it called?
Polymyalgia rheumatica.
Polymyalgia rheumatica means poly, many, myo means muscle, and algia means pain, and rheumatica just means pain in the joints. So we've got many muscles and joints are painful. That's what polymyalgia rheumatica is. But it's classed in the autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid arthritis and lupus. You've had it before, haven't you?
Yes, this is the third time.
And when you had it before, what did the doctors give you?
Prednisone.
Prednisone, that's a derivative of cortisone, which doesn't cure the disease. It really only covers up the symptoms. Now, how long did you have to take the prednisone?
I was on it for 5 years, but the first 2 weeks I had 60 milligrams a day.
That's a very high dose. Now, what happened to your face?
Oh, it blew up like this. They call it moon face.
That's right. She had such a huge face I could hardly recognize my own mother. How long did it take you until you started feeling a lot better when you were on the prednisone? Now, at first, when you went on the prednisone, you had a tremendous amount of energy, so much that you had trouble sleeping, didn't you?
Right, and I'd get up and clean my whole house,
Well,
ceiling to floor.
that's right. That was wonderful energy, but it was false energy, wasn't it? You were
Yeah.
wearing yourself out.
I was, but I couldn't stop because I couldn't rest.
So you had it once again a number of years later, and you were on prednisone for how long?
A year and a half.
And you were also on Motrin at the same time for a long period of time. Now, when you developed this disease again about 10 months ago or so, I knew that if the doctors put her on prednisone again, she would have a stroke at her age. Besides, by that time I had learned how to live better myself. So I sort of kidnapped you, didn't I?
Yes.
And I brought you out to my house, and I put this food in front of you. And you were delighted, weren't you?
No. I said, I don't see how you can eat it even.
So you weren't real thrilled about eating this way.
I'd sit and look at it for a long time.
Well, now, did you love carrot juice, though, at the beginning?
No, I never liked carrot juice.
But you drink it now, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
That's right. And were you a big sugar eater?
Oh, yes. Everything with sugar I loved.
That's right. Well, she was on the diet at the beginning for only 3 weeks, and we had a wonderful unexpected side effect. We got her off of all her blood pressure medications. Now, you had been on some sort of blood pressure medication for how long?
For about at least 35 years.
All right, 35 years. And then, of course, you would be on one blood pressure medication, and then they would add another one, and eventually
And
you were
increase
on,
the dosage.
That's
too.
right. And her blood pressure was as high, even on the medication sometimes, of 200 over 100 or higher than that, even on the medication. So within 3 weeks on this diet, with proper rest and freedom from stress, all of these things changed, didn't they? So we were able to get her off of all the blood pressure medications, and you remain off of the blood pressure medications,
I
right?
haven't been on any of it since
right.
that time.
Not only that, we were able to get her off of Zantac, which was for her hiatal hernia or mid-epigastric pain. Within 4 months of the time you went on the diet, something else happened. We got some blood tests, and what did we find?
Are you speaking of the triglycerides?
That's right.
And the cholesterol?
Right.
Oh, yes. My triglycerides were up as high as 570, and in a short time, they were down to 140.
Well, the triglycerides are a measure of the fat in the blood. They were up at 570 and they dropped to 140. Normal is 200 or below. And that was in 4 months. Within the same period of time, your cholesterol, normal again, is 200 or below. Your cholesterol had been about what,
250.
250. And where did it drop to in 4 months?
120.
Isn't that something? Now, this is in an 85-year-old woman. She changed the way she lived. So if she can do it, you have no excuse. Now, let me ask you, I'm going to ask her one other question. You've seen me talking about this diet, and you know that I've had cancer. And my mother wouldn't lie. She gave birth to me. How old am I?
60 years old last February.
That's right, just turned 60. So you see, you can go through a lot of stress, a lot of life-threatening disease, and still be healthy. Thanks, Mom.
Okay, I'm glad to do it.
Now I'm going to show you about the juicing. Here is the Cadillac of juicers. This is a Norwalk juicer. I'll tell you at the end of the video how you can purchase one of these if you're interested. They are very expensive, but if you have a life-threatening disease and you do have the money, they're well worth it because you get more nutrition by juicing with a Norwalk juicer than any other juicer. I wash my carrots and then I package them in a plastic bag. To make 1 glass of carrot juice, it takes about 3 large carrots like this. I usually add in an apple. Now you can mix fruits and vegetables if they're in juice because then your body doesn't really have to digest them. They all go through at once. This makes the carrot juice much sweeter. You can also mix an apple into your green leafy vegetable juice. If you want to make more than 1 juice at a time, you can do so if you put them in these little canning jars like this and put them immediately in the refrigerator. Then you can keep the juice for maybe 2 or at the most 3 days. Of course, it's better if you drink it within 5 minutes of the time that you eat it because the time that you mix it, but you will lose some nutrition if you put it in the jars like this. But if you don't have the time to make each glass of juice by itself, then you can put them in these little canning jars, which you can get at your grocery store. This is an Omega juicer. This is much less expensive than a Norwalk, and in my opinion, it is the best one in a lower price range. This is significantly less than the Norwalk juicer, and if you do not have the funds to purchase a juicer like the Norwalk, then I would suggest the Omega. If you don't have the funds to purchase any juicer, you can buy freshly made juice at most of your health food stores, and I do know of people who've gotten well from very serious diseases such as pancreatic cancer by the use of even store-bought juice, but not in cans, nothing that's on a shelf, but something that is refrigerated and made fresh at your health food store. If you want a substitute for ice cream, I can tell you there is a wonderful way to do it. You can freeze bananas like this in a plastic bag, peel them and put them in the freezer and freeze them, then put them in your blender and mix them either with strawberries or with dates, and it makes a wonderful substitute for ice cream, and it's full of nutrition. You can have a complete meal of fruit. This is wonderful, and this is the way God made it for you. It comes in its own packages, all of its own peelings, and you can just peel it and eat it. God made it in exactly the proper ratios with all the vitamins and minerals to suit your body. Sprouting is very easy. Here are sprouts that I've just recently been growing. These are sunflower seed sprouts. You can get these little containers to grow them in, and we'll show you how to get those at the end of this video. Here are some lentils. These are just organic lentils that I bought in the health food store. I rinse them. You put them in water first, and then you let them soak overnight. You drain them and you put them in this little container. You have to wet them down twice a day so they don't dry out. But they grow very, very nicely. You can do all of this gardening in your own kitchen. Here's the barley green that I take. This is called AIM barley green. You can get barley green at your health food store. This happens to be one that you have to get through the mail. You can order this over the phone, and the information we are giving to you on how to do that. This also contains kelp. What it is the dried powder of the young barley leaf. It looks like this. I just put it in my carrot juice, and it adds an enormous amount of nutrition in its most natural form, except unless you eat the barley grass itself directly. This is another product made by the same people that make barley green. This is Herbal Fiber Blend. It's a blend of various herbs. If you take, say, a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon in your juice, it will help clean out your intestine. It will make you more regular. It will be a good detoxifying agent to help you eliminate your waste. It is excellent, but when you take this, you must be sure that you drink a great deal of water. You can dress up your meals by having something besides baked potatoes over and over again. You can make French fries in the oven. I just cut them up and I put them in the dish like this. You want to put a little olive oil on the bottom of the dish. You never use flaxseed oil to cook with. You only use olive oil. But you don't fry them. You bake them. You bake them for about 45 minutes or an hour, and then you can put a little bit of salt on them and eat them as though they're French fries. They have virtually no oil in them, and they are very, very nutritious. So there are many things you can do with a potato. You can quarter it, make it into little potato puffs, or you can just bake them, or you can boil your potatoes, or you can make mashed potatoes. Many different ways to cook. So you can have a lot of variety in your meals. Again, you can have rice, you can have sweet potatoes, you can have many other grains on which to build your main meal. This is the way you cook your vegetables. You can use this with either broccoli, as I've cut up here, or cauliflower. You can even use it with green beans. Cook them without water. The first thing you do is take an onion, cut it up, dice it, and put it in your pan like this. You can also add a little tomato to make it a little juicier and a little more flavor. So you put your broccoli, just place it right on top of the onion like this. Put a lid on the pan, and then you use what's called a flame diffuser. You can get these at a kitchen store, and you put them directly over the blaze, whether it's gas or electricity, it doesn't matter. And then you turn it on to a very low heat, and you cook it slowly at a very low heat for 45 minutes to an hour. That way, you don't lose the nutrients in going out in the water, and you keep the cells of the plant that you're going to eat from bursting because you're cooking them very slowly. Again, there are some vegetables where this doesn't work too well, such as beets or things that are very hard, although it does work very well for cauliflower and broccoli and various things, as I've shown you. So that, in essence, is a general way that you prepare your food. Now, when you first start doing this, you're going to have some trouble, I'm sure. So I'm going to give you a few helps. And at the end of this video, it will tell you how to get these books and videos if you're really interested. The first one, if you're having trouble giving up meat, is A Diet for All Reasons. This is a very fascinating video by an MD, and he does it with humor. He shows you that you really don't want to eat meat. Here's another book called Health and Happiness. This has the 10 laws of health in it. I can tell you it will get you in touch with nature and your creator. And here's a book on sprouting. This is by Ann Wigmore, probably the queen of sprouting. She'll tell you every step you need to do your sprouting. This cookbook is a companion to Dr. Clapper's video, A Diet for All Reasons, showing you that fruits, grains, and vegetables are the most natural and healthy way to eat. This cooks without eggs and without any dairy or meat products. And then there are a variety of other books. If you go to your health food store or look around, even in your regular bookstore, you'll find these. The one here is a Garden of Eden fruit and vegetable recipes. These are all raw foods. Another one is Vibrant Living, another one of all raw foods. And the last one is a book by George Malkmus called God's Way. There are many testimonials in here of people who have gone to a mainly raw food diet with a little cooked food and how they have regained their health. So with those helps, I think you can change the way you live and go to a more nutritious diet. So now you know how to eat. Now the second commandment of health is exercise. Studies show that by the age of 25, blood flow has decreased by 40%. And by the age of 35, blood flow in your body has decreased by 60%. So you have to figure that by the time an American is between 26 and 30, energy-wise, they have reached middle age. Regular exercise is extremely important. Your body was made to move. Regular exercise causes a stronger heart and lungs. It causes an increased metabolism, better digestion, sound sleep, better elimination, which is extremely important as we've talked about. It provides the energy to overcome stress. It lowers the blood pressure. It improves the creation of energy in your body. And besides, it makes you look better. It also increases your muscle strength and endurance and flexibility. It improves your mental outlook, and it helps you control your weight. But you must participate in exercise at least 3 to 5 times a week, preferably 6 times a week. I walk. Sometimes I'll ride a bicycle. And I also work out. But make sure that you try to do your exercising outside where you will breathe in the fresh air. Because if you're in a gym where there are a lot of people and you're breathing air that somebody else has been breathing and you have a closed environment and a lot of heavy rock music going, that is not a calm place to do your exercise. So try either walking, bicycle riding. You can even have a small trampoline that you can use outside, or you can jump rope. Any of those things are very useful for exercise. A philosopher said something very important about exercise. He said, people who don't find time for exercise, sooner or later will have to find time for illness. The third commandment of health is water. Your body is 75% water, and your brain is 85% water. If you don't drink water, you're dehydrated, and dehydration causes all sorts of different chronic diseases. When I speak of chronic disease, I'm talking about heart disease, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, all autoimmune diseases, cancer, chronic fatigue syndrome. Anything that you can imagine that is not just the flu or a cold is a chronic disease. That's what Americans are suffering from. So you want to make sure that your body is properly hydrated. Water distribution is important in the body because when you get dehydrated, the body will make sure that it has enough water to get to the brain and certain vital organs. Water regulates all body functions. There's water in your cell membrane, which acts like an adhesive, and it holds special things into your cell membrane. Not only that, it's through waterways that your body transports certain substances that act for neurotransmission, to transmit the nerve impulses in your body. When you're dehydrated, your body has to go into drought management, and it produces histamine. Histamine, in turn, produces substances like vasopressin and prostaglandins. Now, prostaglandins produce pain. And when you have chronic pain, such as low back pain, you can have ulcer-type pain, the pain of rheumatoid arthritis, heart pain, which we call angina or anginal pain, and colitis pain. These are all symptoms of thirst. In fact, one of the last symptoms of thirst is when you're actually thirsty. So if you have one of these other symptoms of pain, most likely you're really just thirsty. Also, stress, which we all have in our lives today, produces dehydration. When you are stressed, you need a lot more water. Whether it's home stress, job stress, whatever is causing it, or illness stress. Stress produces dehydration, and dehydration produces stress. So you get into a circular downward spiral. Not only that, caffeine in coffee or soft drinks is a diuretic. That takes water out of your body. Alcohol is a diuretic. That leaches the body out of your water. So if you think that you're taking a Coke or Pepsi or something like that and you're hydrating your body, because there's caffeine in it, it will take more water out of your body than actually came in with the soft drink. You will also develop such things as high blood pressure if you do not have enough water. You need 8 to 10 glasses of water every day because that's how much you lose out of your body. You lose it from perspiration, and of course you lose salt when you lose water as well. You lose water from breathing, and you're breathing every moment of the day. Your breath contains water. If you breathe against a mirror, it will fog up the mirror. Not only that, your body takes in a huge amount of water from the cells in order to make the digestive juices that you need to digest your food. Now, you don't want to drink water or any other fluid with your meals because your body cannot use that to make digestive juices. All you will do is dilute the ones that are already there. You need to take your water in between meals, not closer than half an hour before you eat, but you must have water. For every day that you have not been drinking 8 or 10 glasses of water, you are behind. I personally didn't drink water for most of my life. So now I drink 16 to 20 glasses of water a day because it makes me feel better. I'm not suggesting that you can make up for a whole lifetime of drinking water if you drink, say, 30 or 40 glasses a day. That's not the way to do it. But you certainly, if you haven't been drinking water, want to start out drinking at least 10, 12, or maybe even 14 glasses of water, depending on how you feel. You have to make sure, of course, when you're drinking this much water that your kidneys are working properly. You need salt for your water. When you drink 8 to 10 glasses of water a day, you need to have approximately a half a teaspoonful of salt for that much water. Now, I don't put the salt in my water. I don't ever salt my food, so I don't get salt through that mechanism. But I usually take a little measuring spoon with a half a teaspoonful of salt in it, and I'll stick my tongue in the salt before I drink my water. Makes the water go down more easily, and then I get my full complement of salt. But you also have to make sure that you use the right kind of salt. The salt that you buy in the grocery store is generally processed salt, and it's been heated to a high degree, sometimes 1,200 or 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit in an oven or a kiln. So when you buy your salt, I buy it at the health food store, and I buy either solar sea salt or real salt, something that has been sun-dried. Even if you buy sea salt, you have to look at the label to make sure that it has been sun-dried and not oven-dried or kiln-dried. Otherwise, the salt will be detrimental to your body, and it will not be helpful. So again, you must have your water, you must have a little bit of salt with your water. But if you are sick, realize that you may not be truly sick. You may really be thirsty. Stay out of the sun, your doctor will tell you. Sunlight causes skin cancer. But does it really? We human beings have been in the sun for thousands of years. We for years worked in the sun, we were farmers, we lived outdoors all the time, and skin cancer is a fairly new development. It's mainly occurred in the last 50 to 100 years. So what is it about skin cancer and our lifestyle? Well, we're eating a lot more dietary fat. Plus, we're eating a lot of empty calories. It turns out that if you're properly nourished and you get the appropriate amount of sun, you will not get skin cancer. Dietary fat combined with sunlight will cause an increase in skin cancer, colon cancer, and breast cancer. Also, an article in a journal called Cancer Research way back in 1945 showed that if you put fats and oils on your skin, such as in suntan lotions, those actually can be carcinogenic. They can also cause skin cancer. Now, you certainly don't want to get sunburned because sunburning is bad for your skin and actually can cause deterioration of your skin as well. But carotene, such as in beta-carotene and vitamin E, will help protect you against sunburning. You do want to get an appropriate amount of sun, such as maybe 30 minutes a day, and not at the hottest part of the day. But you do not want to go without sunlight. There is nothing on this earth that can really grow and thrive without sunlight. We Americans have been eating more and more polyunsaturated fats, which we're told are good fats for us to eat, and yet the incidence of skin cancer goes up. So we don't want to have an excess of any kind of fat in our diet. We want to keep our fat intake down to somewhere between 20 or 25% of fat. Sunlight is very beneficial to a human being. It causes a decrease in the resting heart rate. It causes the respiratory rate to decrease appropriately. It causes lactic acid to decrease in the body, which is a toxin that you want to get rid of. It causes an increase in the cellular oxygen uptake, an increase in endurance and energy, in muscular strength as well. It's been found that even without exercise, sunbathing can cause an increase in muscular strength. Now, of course, it's much better if you combine sunlight and exercise. That's why you see if you exercise outdoors, you kill two birds with one stone. Sunlight causes a decrease in blood pressure. It even causes a lowering of the blood sugar in diabetics. The tolerance to stress also increases with sunlight. You know, when you lay out in the sun, you get sleepy. Do you know why that happens? Well, suppose you drink coffee or some other beverage that has caffeine in it. It will increase a substance called cyclic AMP in your cells. When you are out in the sunlight hitting your body will cause a decrease in the cyclic AMP in your blood, and this is beneficial to you. That's one reason it will calm you down and it will make you sleepy. Sunlight and exercise combined have additive results. So again, if you exercise out in the sunlight, you get double your return for the same amount of effort. Sunlight will also reduce the cholesterol in your system. The cholesterol comes out of your blood and it goes into the skin. When it does that, the sunlight hits it and it turns it into vitamin D. When that happens, your body will then use the vitamin D and more cholesterol will come out of your blood for the skin to again turn it into vitamin D. Sunlight will also decrease the triglycerides in your blood. That's a measure of the fat in your blood. It will also inhibit cancer formation in your body by increasing the oxygen in your body, plus it stimulates the immune system. It will also stimulate the cells in your immune system, the white blood cells, both lymphocytes and what are called phagocytes. Those are cells that will eat up the germs or the bacteria that are attacking your body with infectious diseases. It will stimulate those cells to chew up those bacteria so they cannot harm you. Sunlight is very beneficial to your system. Don't believe it when people tell you don't get out in the sun. You need to nourish your body properly, but then enjoy appropriate amounts of sun. Temperance is the fifth commandment of health. By temperance, I mean abstinence from things like drugs, alcohol, caffeine, theobromine that's in tea, and sugar. Sugar that's in food, sugar that's in soda. Also, you want to abstain, of course, from smoking. I'm not going to discuss smoking. Smoking causes cancer. Everybody knows that. Alcohol is very dehydrating. It takes a lot of water out of your body. Plus, it kills brain cells and liver cells. So alcohol is not good for you. Caffeine, everybody drinks it, whether it's in caffeinated sodas or whether it's in coffee. Caffeine is a stimulant. It causes constriction of the coronary arteries, the arteries of the heart. It increases your blood pressure. In mouse experiments, coffee actually makes diabetes worse. Caffeine can cause food allergies, it can cause fluid retention, and it also contributes to cancer of the bladder and of the ovary. Caffeine can even cause chromosome damage. Osteoporosis is made worse with caffeine. Do you realize that you can lose as much as 14% of the calcium in your bones per decade, every 10 years, from the use of caffeine? So you say, well, I drink decaffeinated coffee. Well, a lot of harmful chemicals are used to decaffeinate coffee, and not all the caffeine is taken out. Caffeine also causes an increase in fibrocystic disease of the breast. That's benign masses in the breast. But if you have benign masses in the breast, you have a 4 times greater incidence of developing breast cancer. So coffee is not good for you. Besides, if you drink coffee and you have a decrease in the calcium in your bones, osteoporosis, you are more liable, particularly in elderly women, to fall and break your hip. Caffeine causes a racing heart rate, it causes fatigue, it can cause finger tremors, it can cause restless legs, agitation, anxiety. Not only that, there are a lot of harmful chemicals in coffee itself, including acetaldehyde, ammonia, and various other chemicals. Did you know that a fatal dose of coffee is 10 grams? That's 70 cups of coffee at once can kill you. But many people take 1/10 of a lethal dose of caffeine every day if they're drinking 7 cups of coffee. Women who drink only 1 cup of coffee a day have a 3 times greater risk of getting bladder cancer than those who abstain from drinking coffee. So you see, you also can lose vital nutrients from your blood, not only calcium, but other nutrients which can cause nervous fatigue, can cause depression. Caffeine is in sodas. It's also in diet sodas. Not only that, but in diet sodas you have a substance called aspartame. Aspartame actually turns out to be, it is reported, a neurotoxin, which means it's damaging to your nervous system. The per capita consumption of sodas per year is 49 gallons. That's each individual drinks 49 gallons of soda a year. Now, if you don't drink soda at all, that means that somebody else is drinking a lot more than 49 gallons of soda. In each cola drink, you will have about the same amount of caffeine that you would get in 1/3 of a cup of coffee. In sodas, you frequently have colorings that are carcinogenic, and you have a lot of phosphoric acid. This is destructive to the tooth enamel. It's also destructive to your bones. And in sodas, you also have sugar. There are 9 to 12 teaspoons of sugar in every single soda that you drink, unless, of course, it has aspartame in it, which has other problems. Americans consume 31 billion pounds of sugar a year. That's 125 pounds a year for every man, woman, and child in America. To digest sugar, your intestines must draw on the mineral reserve of your body. This promotes tooth decay, it promotes thinning of the hair, and a weak bone structure. Also, the digestion of processed sugar consumes a lot of oxygen, and it causes overproduction of insulin, and it wears out your pancreas and leads to diabetes in later life. It also robs your body of such nutrients as chromium, zinc, and we already mentioned calcium, vitamin C, B complex, and it immobilizes your immune cells. When you eat sugar, it coats your immune cells so they cannot help protect you and eat up the germs that are attacking you. It coats them for about 4 hours. Almost all processed foods contain sugar. Cereals, ketchup, canned foods, frozen foods. They're even putting sugar in toothpaste, if you can believe it. Sugar causes irritability, depression, confusion, and excessive tiredness when the exhilarating effect of the sugar wears off. It gives you a yo-yo effect. Your sugar goes way up, and then your body produces insulin. It destroys the sugar, but not completely, and then you're hungry again because you're now maybe hypoglycemic, so you eat more sugar. You see, if you eat natural sugars, such as in fruit, those are metabolized slowly, and they're of a more complex nature, so you don't have this yo-yo effect. But as soon as you're using refined sugar, this will contribute to this up and down state. Sugar is used in almost every packaged foods, not only to sweeten them, but it prevents spoilage, it helps retain moisture, and it maintains the texture and appearance of the food. I can tell you, sugar is a killer. If you have a significant disease, or if you just want to stay well and healthy and live a full lifespan, you must eliminate processed sugar from your diet. One of the elements of your nutrition that you probably haven't thought about is air. Oxygen makes up the largest part of your body. Sunlight electrifies the air. It causes an increase in the negative ions. Negative ions in conjunction with positive ions in the air are very helpful to you. Heating and air conditioning remove the negative charges. Positive ions cause headaches, causes fatigue, and it causes dizziness. Negative charged ions in the right amount produce exhilaration and a feeling of well-being because that's what they give you. You need the proper ratio of negative and positive charged ions, so the more you can stay outdoors, the better you are. Negative charged air has an inhibitory effect on cancer, according to an article in the Journal of Cancer Research. They did an experiment on 2 groups of rats where one was given common indoor air and the other was given negatively and positively charged air. After 1 month, the cancers in one group, and all of these rats already had cancer, the cancer in one of the groups of rats that had only gotten indoor air was twice the size of the cancers in the ones that had gotten both negatively and positively charged air. Negatively charged air decreases your respiratory rate, it decreases your blood pressure, it has many, many positive effects. We are living in an atmosphere now that seems to contain about half of the oxygen that it did thousands of years ago. They have found air bubbles, geologists have, in rocks that have been confined from many thousands of years ago, and found that our ancestors way back had double the amount of oxygen in the atmosphere that we do. So when you stay indoors and you're in buildings where you have windows that don't open, it makes you sick. Oxygen concentration in a healthy human body is actually 3 times that found in the air. So you have to breathe in pure, clear air constantly in order to get proper oxygen. good health and well-being depend on maximum utilization of your oxygen. Your oxygen is needed for your red blood cells to carry it around to your body, and you need to know that foods contain oxygen. The best food for oxygen content is carbohydrate. Both fats and proteins contain less oxygen per volume than do carbohydrates. That is one reason that you need to eat more carbohydrates. And those are complex carbohydrates, not refined processed foods, but fruits and vegetables. Stress in all aspects causes an oxygen deficiency. So you must be careful. When you are stressed, you need more outside air, and of course water will help you because water is H2O. Oxygen is in water. So remember that the proper nutrition must include a lot of fresh air. If you can, sleep with your windows open and exercise outside. Therefore, you can get 3 for 1. You get your exercise, you do it in the sunlight, and you do it outdoors in the fresh air. Rest is another very important element in your program. Rest is necessary to allow your body regeneration time, rejuvenation time, time to repair itself, to throw off the waste products. If you don't get enough rest, your body will age much faster. The sleep before midnight is very important. You say, well, I can go to bed at midnight and get up at 8, and I still get my 8 hours. But your body is regulated by the light-dark cycle, and the hormones that are produced in your body are directly related to this dark-light cycle. So when you spend more time up and less time down during the nighttime, you will throw off what we call your circadian rhythm, or the rhythm of this hormone production in your body. Factors that decrease your chance of getting a good night's sleep are large evening meals, heavy foods, late night snacks, too much fat or protein in your evening meal, and of course stimulants such as coffee or caffeine-containing beverages. So you must get proper sleep in order to have your energy level high enough and your repair mechanisms working well to keep you healthy. Digestion takes energy, so you cannot eat late at night and expect to have rejuvenation and repair occurring when your body is spending all of its energy digesting your food. A fundamental requirement for a healthy, normal life, one that is free from disease, is the proper amount of rest at the proper time of night. Your biggest barrier to getting well is overcoming the idea that you can't get well. You're told over and over again that you need drugs to get well, and a plan like this does not involve drugs. This is where one of the most important parts of the plan comes in. Trust in God. All of the things that I've told you about are God's way of naturally healing you. Most of them are free. In fact, all of them are free if you grow your own food in your garden. This is an inexpensive way to get well. It's the way everyone can get well. Your health is really in your hands, but you have to trust your Creator. The one who made your body knows how to get it well. He will help you. What is trust, you say? Trust is faith. Well, one little boy once said, faith is believing something that ain't so. But that's not true. You have trust all the time. You trust your parents, or you trust someone close to you. If you had a loving mother and father and they told you that they would, say, reward you with a trip to Disneyland if you did thus and so, you believed them. They weren't going to tell you a lie. That's trust. You believe someone based on your previous experience that they will come through to you. That's the way you learn to trust God. but you must learn to know God before you trust Him. And that's where Bible study and prayer come in. Do you know that there are lots and lots of prayer promises in the Bible? I'll read you some. This is from Exodus 15:26. I am the Lord who heals you. And from Exodus 23:25 and 26, it says, worship the Lord your God, and His blessing will be on your food and water. I will take away sickness from among you. I will give you a full lifespan. Psalms 103:2 and 3. Praise the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all His benefits. He forgives all my sins and heals all my diseases. I can tell you when I was at my sickest, I hung on to these prayer promises. I asked the Lord to lead me to the information that would heal me. And in fact, what you're seeing today, what I'm telling you, is exactly what He led me to and what got me well and can get you well too. The last two of the 10 Commandments of health are an attitude of gratitude and benevolence. Be thankful for what you've got. I can tell you, you can always find someone who's worse off than you are. Stop listening, reading, and watching bad news. I stopped reading the newspapers. I stopped watching television. Almost all of it is bad news. Whatsoever is pure and noble, think on these things. That's what the Bible says. Live every moment to its fullest. Give up resentment and anger. They don't hurt the other person. They only hurt you. It's been shown in medical studies that hanging on to resentment and anger destroy your immune system. A major clinic in the United States has done a study on thousands of people with mental and emotional illness. They found out that the one thing that kept these people from getting well above all others was hanging on to resentment and anger. You are not just physical. You are mental and spiritual as well. So you must think only good thoughts. You must feed your mind with good things, and you must feed your spiritual being with good things as well. You can't find any better things than are found in the Bible. Don't wallow in self-pity. Constantly lift yourself up. Try to help other people, and get rid of your anger. Benevolence. Always try to do something for somebody else, particularly those who can't pay you back. Quit being self-centered. Get outside yourself. Start thinking about others. Start praying for other people. The Lord has given us many wonderful healing promises. One of the best is this, found in Deuteronomy 7:11-15. Take care to follow the commands, decrees, and laws that I give you today, and that includes God's health laws. If you pay attention to these laws and are careful to follow them, the Lord your God will keep His covenant of love with you. The Lord will keep you free from every disease. Now that's quite a promise. So there you have it, the 10 Commandments of health. If you look at the first letter of the first 8 commandments, it spells new start. That's what you're about to do today. A new start, a new life where you will be healthy and happy. May God bless you.